Hello and welcome to You're Dead to Me, a history podcast for people who don't like history, or at least forgot to learn any at school. My name is Greg Jenner, I'm a public historian, and I'm the chief nerd on the BBC comedy show Horrible Histories. I like jokes and I like facts, and in this podcast we cram them together in a sort of Frankenstein monsters way. In each episode, I'm joined by an expert historian with years of accumulated knowledge, and a top comedian with years of accumulated penis gags. And today we're donning our waterproofs and wellies and heading to Wiltshire to learn about the ancient majesty of Stonehenge. Joining me in the studio are two people with very different skill sets when it comes to assessing a field full of stones. In History Corner, we've rustled up a proper expert. She's the Senior Properties Historian for English Heritage. She's a qualified archaeologist. She's midway through her PhD at Cardiff University. It's Sue Greaney. Hi, Sue. Thanks for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. And in Comedy Corner, he's one of the finest stand-ups in the country. He's a writer, playwright. He's the big kahuna of UK podcasting. He basically invented it. He once stupidly invited me on his show, and I ruined it. So this is his revenge. It's the brilliant and very silly Richard Herring. Hi, Richard.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
Thank you for coming. Now, it's good to have you in a room together because I know you're both obsessed with stones in fields.
In our own ways.
In
yes.
your own ways. Now, people at home are thinking, what does he mean? Well, Sue is an archaeologist. You know, your job is Stonehenge. That makes sense. But Richard...
Yes.
You've got a weird new podcast.
I've moved to the countryside in Hertfordshire quite recently, and I walked my dog around a field, and it was very stony, and I started just moving stones to the side for my walk, and then I just thought I'd try and be productive with my time. So I started clearing stones off the field and making little cairns. And then I became a bit obsessed with it. And now I do a podcast in which you can follow me once a week, walking around the field, taking stones out of the field and explaining the history of stone clearing. And which may be slightly imagined, and techniques of stone clearing, and also the encounters I have with genuine dog walkers on the way, as I tried to hide what I'm doing because I am genuinely embarrassed.
I mean, I've listened to a couple of episodes, and I have to say, I did immediately think, is everything all right at home?
Well, you know, my comedy's always been about slightly experimenting and treading the line between sanity and insanity, and so I kind of like using comedy to explore that. So
good. All right.
The paranoia is real.
Sue, I hope your experience of fields of stones is not quite as harrowing. Why are you an archaeologist?
I just love the detective side of things. I love finding out about the past. I was a very precocious child. At the age of 7, decided I wanted to be an archaeologist, and I haven't ever changed my mind. And I'm very lucky to work most of the time thinking about Stonehenge, which is probably the most famous monument that anyone can ever think of when they think about prehistory and archaeology.
Not many of us get to be what we wanted to be when we were 7.
Well, I'm essentially trying to build the next millennia's Stonehenge in my field, so I'm hoping that when I've got all the stones off the field, there'll be a big wall around it that in centuries and millennia to come, someone like you will be looking at wondering why it was created.
But it's great because you're recording exactly why you're doing it, so we'll have the evidence.
Herringhenge.
If that survives, that survives.
So, what do you know? In pop culture, Stonehenge is the most iconic ancient monument in Britain. Indeed, one of the most famous in the world. It is mysterious and magical. Druids claim it as a sacred site. Archaeologists puzzle over it. Tourists flock in their millions, 1.5 million a year. Some people think it was built by aliens. Some people think it's magic. In the hilariously terrible film Transformers 5, it's the belly button to Earth, and Earth is a robot called Unicron. So that's great. It's popped up in episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants, Doctor Who, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and of course, in the comedy classic Spinal Tap, Stonehenge is where the demons dwell and the banshees live, and they do live well. So that's what I reckon you know at home, possibly. But what actually is there to know about Stonehenge? And, how much fun can we have asking these weird, exciting questions about it? Let's find out. So, Sue, can we start with the absolute basics? What the hell is a henge?
A henge is an earthwork enclosure, usually circular, and Stonehenge has one of those just around the outside. Not many people notice it because they're too busy looking at the stones, but there is a henge around Stonehenge.
But I've been told that Stonehenge is actually not a henge.
Yeah, if you want to get nerdy and technical about it, you could class Stonehenge as a proto-henge, so an early type of henge, because confusingly its ditch is outside its bank, and normally for henge it's the other way round.
That's really...
We don't really need to worry about it.
It's the most famous henge.
It's the most famous henge, and it's where the word comes from. There was a time when archaeologists got very nerdy about henges and classed them as class 1 henges and class 2 henges, but we realised there's a bit more to life than that. And
is it made
anymore.
of stone, though? Because if it's not made of stone, then that's really...
I mean, that would be...
That's double wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing right in there. Is there stone in there?
No.
No.
Henge is an earthwork, so it's just earth. Yeah.
So the point of calling it Stonehenge is that it's a henge with some stones nearby,
Exactly.
rather than it being a Stonehenge.
That's right. Yeah.
Good. Well, we can all go home. Good. So Stonehenge is not a henge. Good start. Why did we call it a henge? Is it an Old English word, Anglo-Saxon?
Yeah, henge. It comes from either hanging or hinge. So that's because the lintels, the horizontal stones, hang on top of the other one.
So the lintel goes on top of the two sort of, like the goalposts almost. The uprights.
Yeah, the uprights. So there's an idea that it's from hanging, as in they're hanging stones, but there's also an idea that it was a place in Anglo-Saxon times of execution. So the idea that these were hanging stones, they would actually hang people at the site. And actually, one person was decapitated and buried in the middle of Stonehenge in the Anglo-Saxon period. So that's possible as well.
Wow. I did not know that. That's quite exciting. Murder mystery. How many henges are there in Britain?
Probably about 500 at least, I would say.
I
a
thought
lot.
you were going to say 5.
Yeah. Almost 5.
There's a lot. And it's a really amorphous category. So you get really big henges, which are kind of the whole field size, and then you get really tiny mini henges and everything in between. So there are a lot of henges.
Would Richard's henge now classify as a henge?
I think if you were to create a continuous circuit of stones all the way around your field, that would be a henge.
That is my plan. That is what I'm aiming for.
I mean, you could go down in the history books here.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite a thing now, actually, for people to build new prehistoric monuments. There's some people who've built long barrows and they put cremated dead into them.
I've got one cairn that's pretty big, so I'd quite like to be buried underneath that.
Wow.
If they can dig down.
Is that
I don't know
allowed?
if my wife... Well, I don't know. I just told my wife to do it. It's in a field. No one knows what I'm doing, so... I mean, then everyone could come and stand in the... I think it's a pea crop that it was last year anyway, so it's not quite as... They can stand amongst the peas and see me off, and then I'll be buried under there. But I'd like it to be more pyramidy and have, some slaves and animals buried alive with me in there as well.
Sure, yeah.
Don't know if we'll be able to find anyone
to do that. And in 1,000 years' time, Indiana Jones will come along.
Yeah.
And then arrows will shoot out the walls. Okay, so we've established that Stonehenge, not a henge, and there are 500 of them. So hang on, why is this one important then?
So Stonehenge is unique because the stone circle in the middle of the henge, which is the bit we know as Stonehenge, is the only one in the world that is linteled, as in it's got these horizontal stones on top of the vertical upright stones. And it's also the only one that's been worked and shaped. So the actual stones are connected together with joints. So there are mortise and tenon joints, which are kind of woodworking joints, which connect the stones together. And there are tongue and groove joints, which connect the lintels together. So it's pretty unique. There's no other stone circle like it.
So the joints, it sounds like carpentry almost.
It is, yeah. So they're carpentry techniques. And we actually think that at the time that they were building Stonehenge, they'd have been doing this in wood as well. But we don't have those surviving, obviously.
So is there a wood henge? Is there a straw henge, wood henge, Stonehenge?
Yeah,
and then a big bad wolf.
Yeah.
Came and, yeah.
So there is a wood henge. Wood henge is quite near Stonehenge, and it's when archaeologists dug it, obviously they just find the post holes, but they're in an arrangement that could well have meant that they were connected with lintels.
So the wood rots away, and all you find is the holes where the wood would have stood.
Exactly.
Okay. Richard, I believe you did a little bit of archaeology at university.
I did, yeah. Well, before university, my year off, I should have probably done archaeology at university. I really liked archaeology, and I did a couple of digs, yeah.
How good are you on the Neolithic Bronze Age switchover?
Not very good. I did work on a Neolithic site,
okay.
But I didn't find anything on that one really. I was a bit confused about what was archaeological and just what was bits of stone. So that's why I'm just happy just to throw stones away, regardless of whether they're of any value. So it's quite hard to tell because flint just naps itself, doesn't it? It gets
a little bit. It gets chipped.
It does. Yeah. So it's hard to tell.
All right. So do you know roughly when Stonehenge is first built? Can you have a guess? Or?
I would say, first built, like the wood version, I would say 3,000 years before Christ. I was going to say 3,000 years ago, about 3,000 BC.
That's pretty good.
Really good. Yeah, okay. Spot on.
Yeah,
I must have had that somewhere in the back of my mind.
Yeah, you must have maybe lodged in there.
Yeah, but it's quite old, isn't it? It's older than metal stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So 3000 BC is when the henge was dug,
Right.
so the earthwork bit. The stones went up about 500 years later,
Oh, okay.
2500 BC.
So 4,500 years ago is
Yep.
when the stones appear.
Yeah, that's
But-
when the famous ones that we think of
Okay.
went up in the middle.
So the Neolithic is what we call the new Stone Age.
Yeah.
So it's right at the end of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
So the Stone Age goes, a million years,
Mm-hmm.
but then you get right up to 4,500 years ago, 5,000 years ago, and then people kind of go, "Oh, bronze."
Yeah, there's new types of metal arrive. So copper and gold and bronze arrive in the British Isles.
Thrash metal.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a heavy metal joke for. I'm sorry, I'm wearing a heavy metal t-shirt today. My head's gone thrash metal.
And they had a new type of pottery, and they started burying their dead in individual graves, which they hadn't been doing before. And we now know through ancient DNA studies that lots of new people arrived in the British Isles at that time, and the new people are probably bringing this new metal stuff and bringing the new ideas.
So it's bloody immigrants turning up with their new stuff.
Yeah, potentially, but this is just after Stonehenge has been built.
So it's a time of great transition.
Yeah.
But it's also a time of warfare. I mean, are these people welcome?
The ancient DNA does not tell us, but the fact that the DNA basically was replaced in the British Isles pretty quickly shows that it was much more love than war.
Sexy time. And we call these new people the Beaker people?
Yeah, they tend to get called the Beaker people. The term went out of fashion because there's this idea that maybe it wasn't new people and it was just new ideas, new things coming across the channel. But actually now with the DNA, we do know it's new people. So yeah, the Beaker people is what they tend to
And
get
why are they
called.
called Beaker people?
So they have a new type of pottery. It's called a beaker, little pots made of kind of fine pottery, new decoration, and it's a type that comes across from Europe.
In 1,000 years' time, Richard, what's our species, what's our civilization going to be known as if archaeologists find our stuff?
Yeah, well, the iPhone, the iPod and iPhone generation. I just sort of think about those numbers of electronic stuff that, if there was like, a wipeout, an alien archaeologist came and they didn't understand, there was none of these electronic things were connected up or anything. There must be so many phones.
Yeah.
Even now. I think coffee cups as well. Before they became biodegradable, there's going to be just like a little layer of those in there.
We'll be the Starbucks people. Yeah.
Because when you think, those are the changes. Like if you think, like in the last 10, 20 years, if you went back 15 years, the bins wouldn't be full of coffee cups. You know what I mean? When you walk around London, it's all just coffee cups everywhere.
You mentioned bins. Is archaeology rubbish? I mean, are we talking about stuff that's chucked away, or is Stonehenge very much a site where things are very lovingly, carefully buried and left?
A lot of archaeology is rubbish. It's what people leave behind. But at Stonehenge, it's really interesting because it actually seems to have been kept really clean. And when archaeologists dig in the middle of Stonehenge, they don't really find a huge amount. So that's why there tends to be all these kind of mysteries about what it's for. But nearby is a site called Durrington Walls, and that's where we think that the builders of Stonehenge were living. And that place is absolutely stocked full of rubbish. So there are huge pits full of rubbish, loads of middens, which are big piles of animal bones and pottery. So there, they are definitely making a big mess and leaving everything behind.
So that's sort of the work camp. That's where people live, and then they go out and do a day's labour on Stonehenge.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Is it a national monument where people are coming from miles and miles away to build? Is it sort of the Wembley Arena of the Neolithic, or is it being built by locals?
We think that it's probably being built by people from all over because there's been some recent research on the animal bones from this site at Durrington Walls, and the animal bones have been shown to come from all over the British Isles. They're coming from places as far away as northern Britain, maybe even Scotland. There is certainly people travelling over long distances to either take part in building Stonehenge or potentially to go and take part in big feasts and celebrations and parties at the same time.
Have you ever travelled, Richard, to go and build a henge?
I wouldn't travel to do that, no. There's so many opportunities to do it locally.
So your local field is as far as you'll go?
Yes, as far as...
If someone
Once
says...
I've done that, I'll move on to the next field. But I don't approve of them bringing in stones from places that, the stones have to stay in the perimeter of the field. You can't bring them in, can't glory hunt and bring in ones from Wales, which is, I understand where they
You're
came from.
a stone purist.
Yeah, they've got to stay where they are, but just be rearranged. To move them to the edge. They should just be around the edge, and they shouldn't be
local stones, just local stones for local people.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, actually. So when we talk about Stonehenge, we're talking about very big stones.
Yeah.
But there are two types of very big stones. There's the Sarsens, massive. How much are they? How much do they weigh, roughly?
The biggest one is about 36 tonnes.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Very big. And the tallest one is about just over 7 metres tall.
Okay, so that's a massive,
huge stone.
Massive hunk of stone. But the smaller ones are called bluestones, and they're not local.
Yeah, we tend to call them the smaller ones, but actually if you stand next to one, they're taller than, 6-7 foot, so they're quite high. They're quite big themselves. So those are the ones from Wales. And we think they were brought from the Preseli Hills, and we know the exact outcrops now that those bluestones were quarried from. And there's been some excavations there recently that have been finding the quarries. And they brought them somehow. We don't really know exactly which route and how they transported them, but they brought them all the way to Salisbury Plain, and they put them up in amongst these larger stones.
Richard, how would you transport stone from Wales? I mean, I know obviously it goes against your ethics.
Yeah, well, if I had to, flying saucer, I'd get the aliens to bring them in a flying saucer. That's the only real way to do it.
I mean, I guess...
I think that's probably how they did it. But if there were no aliens around, I don't know why the aliens were sort of had all the technology to build flying saucers and then thought, let's put some stones on top of each other somewhere where they weren't originally. But that's, maybe they're just helping us learn. You're meant to roll them along, aren't you, on logs?
Or potentially boats. Potentially stick them on a raft or a boat. It's much easier than bringing it overland.
Have there been any experiments where people have tried rolling a big old...
Lots and lots of experiments. And actually the roller hypothesis has just been dismissed slightly.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Because actually the easiest way to do it is to build a kind of permanent trackway, a bit like a railway, out of wood, and then just slide the stone all the way along it. And if you've got to bring, 50 stones, you're probably going to build a trackway of some kind to move them.
Hang on, we're talking...
As long as it's downhill all the way.
Yeah.
But what if there's a hill in the way? Or a river?
Yeah, you might have to plot your route carefully.
But Wales is miles from Stonehenge.
Yeah, 250 kilometres or so.
And the Preselis are quite far into Wales,
yeah,
aren't
they're
they?
right in Pembrokeshire on the southwest side.
So you're not talking just down the road from... It's not Cardiff. We're big hilly Wales.
Yeah.
And they are moving 36-ton stones on
the smaller ones.
Yeah. How much are the smaller ones?
About 7 or 8 tons.
Oh, that's fine. That's no worries. Easy. You can do that in an afternoon.
If you had a lot of people carrying them.
There was a really funny project called the Millennium Project, and they tried to recreate bringing a bluestone from the Preselis, but one of the major difficulties they had was getting enough volunteers together to actually pull the stone. But if you have enough people, moving a stone is actually pretty easy. Yeah. It's just getting the people together and motivating them to do it.
There was nothing else to do in those days, though.
Yeah, I mean, how would you inspire a crowd, Richard?
I'd say, look, we're going to go out of the pit we live in the caves we live in the mud we live in, and we're going to go and get a big stone. Come on, let's go. We'll see some of the countryside. We'll meet some Welsh girls. It's going to be great. Come on, let's go. That's what I'd do.
And there's a big party at the end. They get loads of beer and loads of food.
And we're going to put these stones up on top of some other stones and freak people out by making them wonder what the hell was going on in 2,000 years, 3,000 years' time.
Is there a sense that Stonehenge is built and then they start to tinker with it? They're like, actually, those two stones, they need to swap over. Do they feng shui it?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so... the earthwork henge gets built 3000 BC, gets used for a few years as a burial monument, then the stones get put up. But then a couple of hundred years later, the bluestones, they do move around and rearrange, and we don't really know why. It's the time, we're now sort of into the Bronze Age, so there's maybe slightly different people coming and putting their own stamp on it.
They've already got the joints there, have they? And so do they not fit? Will they fit on the next one along? Are they all the same size exactly?
So the bluestones get rearranged into just a circle.
Right.
But before that, they were their own little lintels, their own little trilithons, so 2 uprights and a horizontal. So if you look carefully at some of the bluestones that are on site, they've got holes in for where they were originally jointed together.
And was it originally just a real circle all the way round, and then some of them have fallen down, or have some of them always?
Yeah. So, archaeologists are a bit argue about this.
Yeah.
So
some else to do, is there? They've got nothing else on.
They like to entertain themselves by suggesting that potentially it wasn't completed. There's kind of a really complete side, which is the kind of famous view that we think of when we think of Stonehenge. But the back, the stones are a lot more irregular, and there's a lot of missing stones. I'm in the camp that says that it was completed and that we've just got a lot of loss of stone. So we don't have any records. Avebury, for example, has records from the medieval period saying that they were knocking the stones down and breaking them up. But at Stonehenge, we don't have any records like that. But we do know there's a lot of stone missing from the site. So it probably got broken up to use as roadstone and that kind of thing.
How many stones are in it now? And how many do you think might be missing?
There's over 100 stones.
Okay.
And of the outer circle, there were originally 30 uprights and 30 lintels, and we've probably got less than half of those remaining on site.
All right, so there's a big loss there.
Yeah, a lot have gone.
Because they had like 1,000 years to get this right. See, the idea of it not being finished seems very lazy.
Yeah, I can't think that they did. I mean, the back side might not have been quite so nice as the front side, but I'm pretty sure they finished it.
So we're looking at the arse end of Stonehenge. When we
Yeah.
look at the famous Stonehenge photograph, it's Stonehenge's bum.
No, that's the good bit. So
Oh,
when
that's
we
the
look
good
at
bit.
when we look at the really nice complete bits, that's the front.
That's the face.
kind of where people would have approached up the
All
avenue.
right.
But the back side of it is a bit more
Okay.
dodgy.
Well, that's not great, is it?
Same for me.
Richard, the curious thing about Stonehenge is that in terms of global history, the United Kingdom, Britain, or whatever we want to call this landmass, is a bit behind the rest of the world because we get the Bronze Age really quite late. But while we're building Stonehenge here in Britain, which for us is very shiny and sophisticated, the Egyptians are building the Great Pyramid of Giza. 2.3 million stone blocks. I mean, it's a huge number of bits of rock beautifully hewn into sort of mathematical perfection, and we've kind of gone some stones in a field. Why are we so behind in Western Europe?
So Stonehenge is the same date as the Great Pyramid, but you're right in that the Bronze Age does come quite late to the British Isles, and there's a period of time. So if you've heard of Ötzi, who's the Iceman, he was found in the Alps. He's got a copper axe with him, but he dates from about 1,000 years before copper arrives in the British Isles.
Oh,
so
it's
people,
embarrassing, isn't it? It's embarrassing for
He's
us.
an early adopter.
Oh, Ötzi, he was just a bloke walking around in the Alps. He's already got metal.
He got murdered as well, didn't he? He got shot on the back.
Oh yeah, there's an idea that he was murdered. But so people on the continent have got metal a long time before we. And there's something, the channel is only 30 miles across. There's absolutely no reason why they couldn't have brought it across. They had boats. They were.
They didn't want us to have it. They didn't like us. They didn't want us to have it. It's clear. They go, no, we haven't got any metal. No, still stones over here. Yeah, just lumped together. No, we can't make them into any interesting shapes or anything. Nothing.
Meanwhile, bronze.
It's like that, or we kind of go, no, it's okay, thanks, we're good for shiny, nice things. We're good with our stones. Look what we can do with our stones. We can build Stonehenge.
It was a bit like that with mobile phones
stones.
when they first came out. Again, you might be too young to remember, but like lots of people said, "Oh no, we're not going to have those because it's only idiots will have mobile phones and pretentious people." And then by 95, everyone went, "Yeah, okay." But like for 90 to 95, you could have had a mobile phone. Everyone, no.
Really?
So that's what we were like.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
So
the
for about 500
Europeans
years,
were like the businessman with a bit massive car phone going.
Yeah. 500 years or so, we went, nah, not having that new technology.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Can we sort of move on to the kind of legacy and the beginnings of trying to understand what the hell this thing is? Who do you think builds Stonehenge according to medieval historians?
That's a good question. They would have thought King Arthur had built.
He's close.
Yeah,
He's
Merlin.
close. Merlin is right. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. So, do you want to tell us, Sue, about the Merlin story?
Yeah, so there's the kind of legendary history of it is that Uther Pendragon, who's the king of Britain at the time, has a big battle on Salisbury Plain and decides to build a memorial to his fallen soldiers, and he sends Merlin to go and fetch a stone circle known as the Giant's Ring from Ireland and bring it to Salisbury Plain to put it up as a memorial. And Merlin, I think the terms is something like uses machines and contraptions to bring these stones from Ireland, aliens, and put them up on Salisbury Plain. Right. And what's really interesting about it is that actually we then found out thousands of years later that they did actually bring stones from the west. Okay, not Ireland, but the west bit of Wales, which you might think is kind of Ireland.
Same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
No offence to Irish and Welsh, but it's same. They're basically the same.
You can't say that. This is the BBC, Richard.
But yeah, so they brought stones from the west.
We scroll forward a bit more into the sort of early reign of like the Stuarts, so King James, so the time of Shakespeare. The theory has changed. The most sort of notable early archaeologist there is a guy called Aubrey, John Aubrey. What's his theory?
So John Aubrey comes and visits Stonehenge, and he draws one of the first surveys. He draws a plan of it. And he thinks that it's a Druid monument. So he thinks that it is built pre the Romans. So the Druids were sort of judges and magicians and priests of the Iron Age tribes that lived here. And so he, quite logically, in some ways, decided that it was the Druids that built it.
Had there been anyone saying it was Romans who built it?
Yes. Inigo Jones.
Jones, that's a good name, isn't it?
Inigo Jones, who was an architect. So he saw a kind of columns and arches, and he thought that that was a kind of early version of Roman architecture.
If you looked at it, Richard, would you think, yeah, that's definitely Roman?
I would say not Roman, even with my limited knowledge of Roman stuff. On the idea that like some Romans might have come across like 500 to 1,000, 2,000 years earlier and gone, let's have a go at making a forum. Oh, we don't know what we're doing.
really crap Romans.
We haven't got any marble. Oh, damn. I think that's a bit of a stretch to put the Romans on it.
There was also a guy called Walter Charlton who thought it was built by the Danes, so by the Vikings.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
lovely.
that's quite a good theory. And then somebody pointed out that there were stone circles in parts of the British Isles where the Vikings had never reached. So that was a bit quashed.
Did anyone think it just happened naturally by natural erosion?
Oh,
Yeah, they did. There was an early idea that they were just natural stones. Some think that glaciers brought the blue stones all the way to Salisbury Plain. However, most geologists don't think that the glaciers came this far south.
Cats could have brought them.
Yes, cats.
They could have all just carried them. Okay, if you get enough cats.
how many cats are we talking?
I mean, it would have to be, you're talking about 1,500 cats all working together.
Cats don't work together. They barely. I mean,
Maybe they did in those days.
They're famously selfish.
They've evolved because they've been domesticated, but before they were domesticated, they were wild cats and they used to move big stones around.
for what purpose, Richard?
They like big scratching posts, it could be. There's all sorts of things it could be.
Do animals build henges? So?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Also, it's really difficult.
Beavers do, though, don't they? Beavers, so you laugh, but beavers
yeah,
move
you're right.
trees around, so
That's true.
it's not
build
that
dams.
big a leap to say a cat could have done it.
I hope at the end of this, someone's going to edit the Wikipedia article on Stonehenge to say one theory suggests that cats built it. So Inigo Jones says Romans. John Aubrey says Druids.
Yeah.
Then we get William Stukeley.
Yep.
He's quite the character.
He's very cool, and he spends basically every summer visiting Stonehenge and drawing it and discovering a huge number of monuments in the surrounding area. So he finds the Cursus, which is this big early Neolithic rectangular monument that no one had seen before.
So the Cursus, I mean, that sounds like circus.
Yeah, so he decides that it's a Roman chariot racing course. Now we know that they are Neolithic monuments, but he at the time thought it was Roman and thought that they'd used it for racing, a racetrack. He also found the avenue, which is the kind of approach to Stonehenge, and he also was the first person to notice that it was aligned on the midsummer sunrise. So he was pretty ahead of his time in terms of being able to survey and notice and be a good archaeologist.
This is in the 1700s.
Yeah, 1723-ish.
So, I mean, he's pretty advanced, and he is also an amateur druid.
He is, yeah.
Not that advanced.
He follows John Aubrey. He also thinks that Druids built Stonehenge, and he gets so into Druidism that he pretends that he is one, and he kind of has parties and dresses up as a Druid and has etchings made of himself as a Druid.
Yeah. We know what he's up to.
And he's quite sees it as a very kind of primitive version of Christianity, so he does get quite into it.
So is he the guy who kind of sort of invents the idea of Druidism as a religion?
Yeah, he does. So he writes a big book, which he puts all these ideas out, and it becomes very, very popular. It's kind of the best-selling book on Stonehenge for a couple of hundred years. But actually, he kind of nicked his ideas from John Aubrey. So Aubrey was the one that really came up with the idea, but then Stukeley was the one that made it popular. And basically, until the beginning of the 20th century, people, and still now, actually, people still think that Druids built Stonehenge. So he was responsible for that.
I still think it. Even after listening to all that, I still think it was Druids.
Have you ever been tempted to join a druidic?
Well, yes, it looks
Cult or
looks
something?
quite good, doesn't it? If you go up to, when they come up on the midsummer day, the Druids all come, don't they? You let them in.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to do whatever they want on the?
Yeah, within reason.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, within reason, Richard.
I'm thinking beyond reason. Well, do they all kind of get jiggy down there on the stones, or is it just?
No, not really. There's too
No.
many people. It's kind of a.
Well, we're all Druids.
yeah.
We're all Druids here, mate. Come on.
We do have we do
You're
have some
wearing those
regulation.
flowing dresses for a reason. Easy access.
What's fun about the Druids is that the first time they went to Stonehenge was 1905, and they kind of dressed up as pretend Druids for fun.
Yeah.
So they had cotton wool beards, and they had put the robes on, and they had their ceremonies at Stonehenge. Gradually, over the 20th century, that has developed into actual religious belief. So
Yeah.
there are people who would class themselves as neo-Druids and pagans and all kinds of other things who do come along to solstice and
It's almost like
celebrate it.
religion's just a load of made-up rubbish. Isn't it? It's almost like that.
Again, Richard, the BBC.
It's almost like that. But it clearly isn't that.
When do the alien conspiracies start? I mean, obviously, aliens is a very 20th century idea, but when do people start going, maybe it was Transformers or aliens or wizards?
Say 1970s, 1980s is when you get kind of a
When the LSD
proliferation.
kicks in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you get a lot of ideas at that time about mysticism and aliens and spirits and energies and all of these things. Ley lines particularly quite a popular thing to try and find and draw maps and look at them. So yeah, I'd say it was probably the 60s, 70s time when, people were expanding their minds in various ways and coming up with new theories.
Who protects Stonehenge now then? Is it? I mean, it's your job essentially, isn't it?
Yeah. When I first started working with Stonehenge a lot, I had a dream that someone was trying to knock down Stonehenge with a JCB, and it was just me there trying to stop them. So yeah, basically kind of me. But no, English Heritage, who are the charity that I work for, have responsibility for looking after the stones. And the land, basically all the land around it, is owned by the National Trust. So together with the National Trust, we kind of manage the whole landscape.
Richard, do you know the story of how it ended up in the nation's hands?
It's always belonged to the nation.
No.
It's ours.
No. Well, I mean, you can think that, but no. So in 1915, a man went to an auction with the intention of buying, apparently, some dining chairs for his wife and ended up buying Stonehenge.
That happens at auctions.
He just was scratching his nose, wasn't he? And then went...
His name was Cecil Chubb, which is a great name.
Yeah.
It's my wrestling name, Cecil Chubb. He went along and went, oh, I've accidentally bid on an ancient monument and now I own it. And he gave it to his wife and she was like, thanks very much, but I prefer the dining chairs. So they ended up sort of giving it to the nation.
That's right, yeah.
How much did it cost?
£6,600.
Bargain.
Yeah. Quite a lot of money in those days.
It was.
Yeah, but I mean,
he was quite wealthy.
How much do you take on the door every day at the visitor centre?
I couldn't
More than
put...
£6,000
Yeah, definitely.
per day.
Could
we held on to that?
Could we club together and buy it back? That's the question.
There was even, in 1915, there was already a charge of a shilling a head.
Was there?
So, yeah.
I'll give you £8,000 with it. You've made 1,400 quid profit straight away.
What's to stop Elon Musk trying to buy it?
It's in state guardianship. So it basically belongs to the government and the state, and he would have to argue with them about buying it.
Okay, and the British Army is nearby, so if anyone does try and steal it...
The Salisbury Plain training area is just over the horizon.
What if the aliens come back to take it away again?
I think we probably just let them.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Transformers 5, they get stopped by Anthony Hopkins.
Okay,
So-
yeah, well, he will send him in.
Actually, no, he dies. No.
Oh, does he?
Sorry, I
Don't
ruined
spoilers.
that film. Well, I mean, you say spoilers, but the film itself is a spoiler. It's a genuinely terrible film. Can we talk a little bit about some of the theories as to why it was built? Because people have spent so much time trying to go, what's it for? And there's I've got a list here. Hang on a second. I'm going to go through the list of various theories. So as well as Druids and Romans and Vikings and all that, there's also, it's a healing sanctuary. It's a giant vagina metaphor. It's a cemetery. It's a celestial clock. Aliens, obviously. It's acoustically engineered, so it's like something to do with the sound is brilliant. And it's a national party place for weddings and gatherings. So, I mean, I'm sure Richard's particularly enchanted by the giant vagina metaphor.
Yeah,
That's
why make it a metaphor? Why have the metaphor on there?
But can we just go through some of these theories? And you know, obviously you're an archaeologist, you are a woman of science. What's the evidence for a healing sanctuary, for example?
So the idea that it's a healing place is a professor called Tim Darvill who came up with this idea, and he looked at the bluestones and he went to Wales where the bluestones are in the Preseli Hills, and there's a tradition there that the bluestones have healing qualities, and if you pour spring water over them and then drink that water or bathe in it, then you will be healed of various ailments. So he suggested that Stonehenge was a bit like a prehistoric Lourdes, that you would bring these special stones all the way from Wales and set them up there, and people could come and be healed. It's not a completely balmy idea, but it's just one theory that an archaeologist has come up with.
Okay, can we move on to the giant vagina metaphor idea?
It's a kind of general idea that people at that time in prehistory kind of had a religious belief based on the idea of Mother Earth and Mother Goddess.
And so what, it's in the shape of a vulva? What's the idea here?
I've never seen one that shape.
I presume
not
so.
With all.
Do you know what?
They're complicated, but they're not that complicated.
Okay, so it's a sort of an idea of a female goddess.
Presumably somebody has looked at it and thought it has a resemblance too,
Okay,
but
right.
each to their own.
cemetery feels a little bit more.
Yeah,
more
that's
evidence
good.
there.
Cemetery I would sign up to myself. So in the first sort of 500 years of the monument being in existence, about 150 people were buried there as cremations, and quite a few of those have been excavated, so we know that people definitely were buried there, men, women and children.
Okay.
And so it was one of the biggest cemeteries that we know of in that period at the time.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so
Solved. That solved it.
Sure, go ahead.
You've
Yeah, cool.
ruined the mystery of Stonehenge.
So the idea, some people have said the stones are there in memory of the ancestors. So the people who are being buried there, it's their kind of a marker or gravestone.
That's interesting. So actually, a lot like gravestones in our modern cemeteries.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that theory.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Don't need to hear any of the others.
Richard, do you like celestial clock as a theory?
Well, if it's a clock, it's a long way to go, isn't it? If you're in Leicester, go, what's the time? Hold on. I've just got to go down to Salisbury and check the henge.
But they might have a local henge that's based on the...
Well, the wooden ones, they're not going to be as good as the stone one.
I wouldn't know.
The monument is aligned on the movements of the sun. So it's not really a clock, more of a calendar.
Okay.
So it lines up with midsummer solstice and it lines up with midwinter solstice. So the longest day and the shortest day. So the stones in particular, as I said before, there's hardly any finds from the site. There's no kind of evidence of feasting or pottery or fires or anything going on. But so we only have the stones to tell us really what the monument is about. And the fact that it lines up with the solstice suggests that people are gathering there at those particular times of year and that the sun was an important part of their religious beliefs.
All right, well, that's perfectly logical. Aliens, I think we can probably discredit. Acoustically engineered shrine. That sounds fun. What's going on here?
Yeah, so some people have looked at the acoustic properties of the monument and found that particular resonances and particular rhythms of drumming in particular kind of give a kind of echo and a resounding sound to it. So that's an idea that if you are using it as kind of like a temple or a place for people to gather, that the sounds would be quite spectacular and you would be able to amplify what somebody was saying or some music that was taking place inside.
Makes sense. No?
Well, it's just some stones, isn't it? It's not...
These are acoustically engineered stones, Richard,
well,
all the way from
Wales. There's loads of gaps and there's no roof on it, so it's...
Well, is
would
there a
roof on it?
Yeah.
No roof. We don't think so.
Was there a second story?
No, but interestingly, on the tallest stone, the lintel has got some little hollows on it, and some people suggest there was maybe another story above, but I don't think most people think
There we
that's
go.
what it-
National Party Place was a theory here, but people congregating for some religious ritual sounds sensible. So maybe it's all of those theories together.
It could be all of those and none of those.
But
as
not the
well.
aliens.
Not the aliens.
Okay. And at what point are we talking about Stonehenge becoming a kind of tourist site? When did people start going there and having picnics and buying key rings?
People have always been visiting Stonehenge, so there were records back right to the medieval period of it being kind of a wonder of the world. But it's really the invention of the motor car that kind of brings people en masse to Stonehenge. And so from that day onwards, really, the numbers have gone up and up and up until the present day.
And 1.5,
What's the earliest, tourist, memento that you've discovered on site?
In two places on the stones, Christopher Wren put his name.
Wow.
So that's what, 1660s, 70s?
Yeah. He was born locally, but he wasn't living there at the time. But it was the time he was building St Paul's. So he comes and visits Stonehenge and puts his name in and chisels his name into the stone.
Maybe Christopher Wren built Stonehenge.
I don't know.
And signed it.
I quite like to think that he was a bit inspired by it, maybe.
The one person we haven't mentioned is quite a famous burial, is the Amesbury Archer. Okay.
Yeah, Amesbury Archer. So he was excavated in 2001. Just near Stonehenge, there's a small town called Amesbury, and they were building lots of new houses. So archaeology was taking place. And he's somebody that was buried in a grave with 7 beaker pots, these new types of pots that come in just after Stonehenge is being built, and with some of the earliest metal objects that we find in the British Isles. So he's got gold earrings, and he's got a copper axe, and he's got various other metalworking tools with him. And he's also got a very damaged knee, so he was injured and would have had a limp. So there's an idea that he is probably one of the earliest tourists to Stonehenge. Maybe he comes across from the continent. We know from studies of his teeth that he was brought up in the Central Alps, so he comes from Central Europe somewhere.
So Austria, or
potentially the kind of the oxygen isotopes that you use are not that specific.
Because Ötzi's from Austria. Ötzi sort of dies in Austria, Italy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's from the Italian Alps. Yeah, it's in a very similar area. Amesbury Archer is travelling across.
Could have been the bloke who shot Ötzi with his arrow.
He's doing a runner.
He's a fugitive.
He's on the run. He's gone all the way to Britain, and then he's come a cropper.
Yeah, so he gets he's one of the first beaker burials that we have.
Is there a sense that he might have been quite important, quite powerful?
It's a very, very rich grave in terms of the number of objects, and he's also a metal worker, which at that time was a new skill. People would never have seen metal before. People would have not known how metal was worked. So basically it's magic. I mean, it's taking stone and making metal out of it. So
yeah, I mean, to create bronze, you have to superheat copper, don't you? Copper and tin.
Yeah. So one idea is that he's coming looking for tin sources from southwest Britain, potentially.
Cornwall and that sort of area, yeah. So is he? Can we call him the King of Stonehenge?
No, because Stonehenge was built before he got there.
Damn it! That's not. I mean,
I could call him the first tourist if you like.
All right, fine. I mean, he's I like the idea of fugitive. The fugitive of Stonehenge is much sexier. That's a sort of true crime podcast.
It could have been a prison. What if Stonehenge was a prison, quite bad prison?
Really bad.
Lots of holes. There is another guy who gets buried in the ditch at Stonehenge. We call him the Stonehenge Archer, confusingly, and he has got 3 flint arrowheads in his back.
The nuance window!
we've come to the point which is known as the nuance window, where we allow our expert to rant for 3 minutes, but not a proper rant, a nice rant. And we're going to let you, Sue, tell us what your pet theory is, the thing that you want people to hear. So without much further ado, would you like to launch into the nuance window?
Okay, so I would like to argue that we shouldn't really be calling prehistory anymore. So we've been using a lot of terms, Neolithic and Bronze Age and Iron Age, and these are period names that have been around for ages, but archaeologists find them really confusing, and people do as well. And they basically refer to the tools that people are using at that time, and that doesn't really tell you much about what's actually going on at the time. And the term prehistory is obviously before written record. We generally use that as a time for describing all of the human past before we start to write things down. But actually, it's not that useful a term, because prehistory just becomes this massive amorphous mass of thousands of years. But in archaeology now, we've had radiocarbon dating for about 50 years. And radiocarbon dating allows us to date objects like antler and bone and charcoal, anything that was living, and allows us to date that quite accurately. And in the last 10 years or so in archaeology, we've developed new techniques, which means that we can combine radiocarbon dates with statistical methods, which basically means we can get down to about 20 to 25 years for when an event happened. So for Stonehenge, for example, we know exactly when the stones were put up. And we know that maybe it was the grandchildren or great-grandchildren of those people who then moved the stones around. So we can talk about things in terms of generations, in terms of lifetimes, and we've got really precise dates. So we actually have more information about the Neolithic now than maybe some other bits of history, like maybe the early medieval period when we don't really know what's going on. So calling it prehistory, I'd like to call it history, because actually we know events, we know that people were doing things at particular times, and we can date those events. So, for example, there's a long barrow near Avebury called West Kennet Long Barrow, and they've dated the human remains that were put into that. It's a funerary monument. And people were only buried in it for about 50 years. So that's a really short window of time. And so now we know that that's a really specific amount of time. It shows that people were making specific decisions. People were having conflicts. People were sometimes at peace and sometimes at war. There were times of boredom and sometimes times of chaos. But this kind of nuance and getting back to an idea of history in the deep past gets us much closer to what was actually going on in people's lives at that time.
Thank you so much. Richard, have you got any follow-up sort of on that interesting nuance window?
What would you call the time before that bit that you do know now?
Deep history.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But we don't really know history. We don't know what was going on in history.
Yeah.
But with presumably with DNA and stuff as well, that gives us like a lot more information than because it's sort of crazy the amount of. I was listening to Alice Roberts' audiobook about. Tamed, it's called, about
domestication of animals.
And like you're able to find a wheat, just the DNA of a wheat seed that didn't really even grow and that is disintegrated. They're just in the subsoil. There's just like enough stuff in there to be able to tell that was wheat, from however long ago that was. So it's crazy how much we can find out.
The science in archaeology is just getting a bit ridiculous, to be honest. We've got DNA, we've got isotopes, we've got radiocarbon dating. There's so many new techniques now that we just got so much information. It's kind of mad.
If the time travel option comes available, would you go back to Stonehenge to see what it was like? Or even if you couldn't come back again, if it's like going to Mars?
I'd probably go anyway.
What would you take your family with, your husband with you, or
no,
just on your own?
Okay. Yeah.
Bye. I'm going to marry the Aidensbury Archer.
Actually, no, it would be really annoying not to come back, because I reckon if we did go and set it for 2500 BC, we'd find out things that we just couldn't really comprehend, and be so different from what we actually think.
Yeah, what
It'd be nice to come back and go to everyone.
Shall I tell you what you should do?
Like.
Carve a little message on the bottom of the stone. The Stonehenge is going to be there. Cover it in a bit of mud. So I'm going to put it here, and then when they'll go, let's just check.
Leave a message.
There it is.
That's a good idea.
What would your message be, Richard?
Well, it'll be what it is. It is a celestial clock. There are aliens here. Get out. I'd write that in.
You'd write.
So what do you know now?
Okay, well, I think we've learned quite a lot about Stonehenge. And in that case, it's time to quiz our comedy guest.
Oh, no.
Don't panic.
I wasn't listening.
You were listening. It's probably, well, I mean, if you weren't listening, it's going to show. But, it's probably going to be fine.
Okay.
So this section is what's called the What Do You Know Now? Because we've had the So What Do You Know at the beginning. I'm going to give you a minute. All right, here we go. 60 seconds starting Now, which are bigger of the stones, the sarsen or the blue stones?
The Sarsens.
Yes. Roughly how many years ago was Stonehenge first begun?
From this date, 5,000 years.
Yep, bang on. Roughly when did they stop building it?
When it was nearly finished.
That'll do. It's 3,500 years ago. In 1915, Cecil Chubb was meant to buy what?
Some dining room chairs.
He was. The body found at Amesbury is known as the Amesbury what?
Archer.
Yes. What's the heaviest stone there, actually?
Oh, like ton. It was tons.
It was tons.
And 21 tons.
Oh, no, I'm afraid it's 36 tons. It's the heaviest one. The average is 25. What ancient monument was built at the same time?
The pyramids.
The Great Pyramid, that's it. Geoffrey of Monmouth said Merlin built Stonehenge for what reason?
Because he was just dicking around with people to fight the giants of Ireland.
No, it was a war memorial.
Okay.
The horizontal stone balanced on top of the two is known as what?
The lintel.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. And what does the word henge mean in Old English?
Hinge.
Yes, or hanging. Yes. I mean, that's 8 out of 10.
Right, good, not bad.
That's respectable. Well done. Do you feel you've learned some stuff, Richard, or is this a waste of your time?
No, I didn't really. I think the cemetery thing is very... Well, it's just obvious. If there's loads of bodies buried there and cremations buried there from the beginning of it, that's obviously what it is. So we've solved... I've not only learned something, I didn't know about that, I think, really, has solved what Stonehenge is about by listening to all their various theories you crackpots have
And we
come up
also
with.
solved an ancient crime as well, an
Yeah.
ancient murder with
Yeah.
Amesbury Archer. We know who that is now. Well, I mean, that's basically it, I think, really. So join me next time for more cheery chat about some random historical thing with two other lovely humans that we found. If you've enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends, leave a review online, make sure to subscribe. It's called You're Dead to Me. But for now, I think I have to say thank you and goodbye to my excellent guests, Sue Greaney and Richard Herring. Thank you for listening, and bye. You're Dead to Me was a Muddy Knees media production for BBC Radio 4. The researcher was Emma Nagoose, and the producer was Dan Morell.